grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious, dear, that grace appeared the hour I first believed.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! No justice! No peace! 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 I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, I've no less days to sing your praise than when we first begun.
What a powerful video by Journal Sentinel's Angela Peterson. I'm James Causey, Ideas Lab reporter and 2019-2020 Marquette University O'Brien Fellow. Welcome to Listen MKE Live, a community listening project of the Ideas Lab, WUWM 89.7 Milwaukee's NPR, the Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. Angela's video shows us just how difficult 2020 was for all of us. Her video shows us that, like so many others who have lost loved ones, they're still finding ways to celebrate the lives lost and still hope for social justice. Let's face it, we all dealt with the protests and the fight for equal rights and justice. Our work, our families, and our lives have just been impacted. But guess what? We're still here. And tonight is special. We will be enlightened by noted Baltimore spoken word artist and poet Kondwani Fidel. But first, let me introduce O'Brien Fellowship Director David Hoover, who will tell you more about the Marquette Journalism Program. David.
Thank you very much, James. Good evening, everybody. I had the pleasure of working directly with James when he took up residence at Marquette as a participant in the Perry and Alicia O'Brien Fellowship in Public Service Journalism. It's a really, really long name, but in short, the fellowship selects journalists from around the country to report deeply for 9 months on a single systemic problem in this country, and then go wherever they need to go to figure out who's got better solutions to it. In James's case, the idea was to spend full time researching programs and ideas that help overcome the effects of racism. He went looking for lessons in Milwaukee and around the country. James was out of the Journal Sentinel newsroom for the fellowship, but it was definitely not an off year. James and his student reporting team, Sebastian Becerra, Abby Eng, Donna Sarkar, together wrote nearly 20 powerful stories on homeownership, eviction, literacy, unlearning racism, and more. We were proud to support their work, which ran in the Journal Sentinel under the banner Milwaukee's Promise. Tonight's event really concludes the long first phase of James's reporting project. Next, we'll see if local elected officials and organizations can build on this work. We know and trust that James and Journal Sentinel will stay on the case. And now I have the pleasure of introducing a special guest who is going to kick off this event with a poem. Our guest is Muhib Dyer. Muhib is a Milwaukee born and raised award-winning poet. Many of you probably know him. He's known locally and nationally as a spoken word artist and motivational speaker. He works with school children and adults on recovery from trauma and on breaking the cycle of violence. And he has co-founded at least 2 organizations here, Flood the Hood with Dreams and the I Will Not Die Young campaign. With that, I'm going to throw it over to Muhib.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The clock struck 12, and in came 2020. 2020 was supposed to be a decade of clear-eyed vision for the United States of America. It was supposed to finally live up to the true meaning of its creed, as said by the Dr. King, that all men are created equal. But what we finally realized about 2020 and even today is that America is still as blind as a bat when it comes to its citizens of color. We are not judged by the content of our character. We are still judged by the color of our skin. You see, America is supposed to see, when they look at me, a black man from the north side of Milwaukee, maybe they're supposed to see the suit. Maybe they're supposed to see the tie. Maybe they're supposed to see that I'm a businessman. Maybe they're supposed to see that I'm a father, that I'm a husband, that I'm a community activist and servant, that I've never been to jail one day in my life. But what America opts to see is what she's always seen. She sees the hoodie. She sees my scowl. She sees the thug, the hustler, and the criminal, don't you, America? She sees the dope dealer, don't you, America? She sees a convict. She sees somebody that's incapable of adding goodness to this world. She sees the throwaway children from streets called Burleigh, Garfield, Galena, Vine Center, Houghton, and Buffum on the north side of Milwaukee, 53206, the most incarcerated zip code in the United States of America. That's what she sees. But regardless of what she sees, when we as a Black community go to sleep at night, we close our eyes and we hear the voices from our ancestors still locked down on the bottom of the slave ship saying, they will not break us. We see the voices of our ancestors swinging from those trees down south. Like Billie Holiday said, the strange fruit, they will not break us. We still hear the voices of those who marched in the civil rights movement saying they will not break us. We still hear it today, even though we battle racism and incarceration. We say they will not break us. They cannot break us. They will not break us. They cannot break us. There are no trials, no tribulation, no pressure, no pain, no pandemic strong enough to stop my people. We winning. The people will always find our way back to God. So we look the racist dead in the eye. We look at the racist dead in the eye and we say, bring on your planes. Fill them with dope. Drop crack bombs on us. Make the whole hood look like a third world country. Evict us. Turn our lights off. Turn our gas off. Break our windows, our refrigerators, our TVs, our stoves. Even break our minds. But guess what? You will never get to our souls. They will not break us. They cannot break us. They will not break us. They cannot break us. There are no trials, no tribulation, no pressure, no pain, no pandemic strong enough to stop my people. We winning. The people will always find our way back to God. So even if you dry the whole hood up, you see the racists can dry the whole hood up, make it look like a desert, leave us with no money, no opportunity, no hope, no chances, no mothers, no fathers, make dope dealing the only way of life. Have us robbing each other over their scraps, killing each other over their crumbs, make 18 the good age to die, put our faces on t-shirts, memorialized, give us the worst everything, worst education, worst food, worst clothing, worst jobs. And after all of that, we will still look them dead in their eye and ask them, is that all you got? Is that really all you got? You don't know who you dealing with now, do you? We've taken your best punches, taken all your drama. We will never fall. We will never lose. There is nothing you can do, or they will not break us. They cannot break us. They will not break us. They cannot break us. There are no trials, no tribulation, no pressure, no pain, no pandemic strong enough to stop my people. We winning. The people will always find our way back to God. So even if you bury the whole hood alive, racist, you can bury the whole hood alive. Bury our spirits under 20-inch rims, under platinum chains, under cars, under clothes. Bury our spirits under foolish music, under blood money, under tennis shoes. Turn my people against me and me against them. Make they every word, they every thought, they every rap be about my ugliness, about our nothingness. And even still, I will always turn my way back to them, and they will always find their way back to me. There is nothing they can do. They can't hurt us. They can't hold us down. They can't stop water from seeking this level. And since water is in us, they will never be able to stop us from seeking the truth. It is impossible. We are not afraid of your might. We are not afraid of your intelligence. We've read the story of Pharaoh. We know it is prophesied that you fall, not us. What you gonna do when we don't want to be a part of your world no more? What you gonna do when we don't want to be a part of your world no more? What you gonna do when we don't want to get high no more? Don't want to get drunk no more? Not hypnotized by your music no more? What you gonna do when we don't want to be criminals no more? When we burn your dope, burn your money, burn your guns as an offering to the Most High God to regain his respect? What you gonna do? You gonna kill us? You gonna put us in jail? Too late, we was already born in it. We was already born in it. What you gonna do? You gonna kill us? That'll only give my baby girl a reason. My baby girl's a reason to put my picture underneath their pillow at night, praying to God that the fairy godmother of justice, instead of giving them money for a tooth, give them the same courage, same conviction, same determination to be a soldier, just like they daddy when they grow up. There is nothing they can do. We laughing at them. Underneath all this pain, we're laughing at them. Underneath all these tears, we're laughing at them. All poor people, all oppressed people, all freedom-loving people, all righteous people are laughing at them. Family, listen to me. They will not break us. They cannot break us. They will not break us. They cannot break us. No whips, no chains, no water hoses, no jail time, no death, no depression, no problems, no nothing, no trials, no tribulation, no pressure, no pain, no pandemic strong enough to stop my people. We winning. The people will always listen to me, man. The people will always listen to me through these computer screens. The people will always find our way back to truth. Find our way back to love. Find our way back to freedom. The people will always find our way back to God.
Thank you, Brother Mahid. Man, I got chills all through my chest after hearing that. Brother, I love what you do in this community. I love how you empower people, especially the young people, through spoken word. Continue doing what you do because we need this so much. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Last year, with the help of my colleague, Angela Peterson, who did the powerful video which kicked off tonight's event, we worked on a year-long project called Milwaukee's Promise. The project could not have been done if it were not for the O'Brien Fellowship Program and a generous donation from the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. This is the second project that I partner with GMF, and I hope we can continue this partnership because we share the same vision. The vision is making Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin an area where everyone can succeed, an area where everyone is valued. It needs to be the starting point for every bill, every proposal, and every piece of legislation. Everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to be valued. I also want to thank my editors, Greg Borowski, George Stanley, David Haynes, and Tom Ketting for pushing me and encouraging me and sometimes stressing me out. But I say that in a good way. I say that because they knew from the start of this project how important this project is not only to the newspaper, but to our readers and to the citizens of this city. Also, again, I want to thank photojournalist Angela Peterson, who's with me side by side on this project. I mean, we just work well together. Her photos and videos really help shape the stories. I mean, if it was a photo of the boy playing with his dog on the bed in his home, it told a story of home ownership. Or the video of this Black male teacher right here in Milwaukee giving one-on-one time with a young man struggling with division and subtraction. That story told the story of mentorship. Angela was right there all the time, so I want to thank her. I also have to thank my wife, Demia. When you work on projects, especially year-long projects of this magnitude, your significant other is there with you throughout the journey. So she had to deal with all my mood swings. So I want to thank you too, hon. I'm sorry about all the stuff I put you through. The solution-based project, Milwaukee's Promise, tackled issues going on in our city when it comes to housing, evictions, education, economics, race, and racism, which we will talk about tonight. What we tried to do was look for the best practices right here and across the country. And I always ask myself two questions. If a program was happening elsewhere that was working, I wanted to know, why aren't we doing this here in Milwaukee or southeastern Wisconsin? And if a program was working here that we already had, I asked myself, well, why can't we expand this project? I want the politicians listening tonight to be on notice. You have a lot of work to do. And I want to keep pressure on you to do what's right because our citizens, our children, they just can't wait. We can't wait another decade for things to be done. We need action now. You can learn more about the project, Milwaukee's Promise, by going to jsonline.com. And with that said, I want to move on to tonight's keynote speaker, Kondwani Fidel. Fidel is a Baltimore native, a spoken word poet, a motivational speaker, and someone I'm pleased to bring to you tonight. He's passionate, he's powerful, and I want you to really try to feel his words. Fidel wrote this book called The Antiracist, How to Start a Conversation About Race and Take Action. Think about it. That's something we all need to do, right? Some of you will get the opportunity to get a signed copy of his book later on tonight, and I'll tell you how to get that if you stick on. But now, without further ado, please welcome Kondwani Fidel.
Thank you, James. He was just a kid. Blue and red lights bouncing off of buildings and the faces of spectators. Yellow tape that the police try to keep you behind. Broken glass lying on the curb from the bottle of Bud Ice that fell out of the kid's hands. There's a little boy out there who's maybe 2 years old, laughing and stomping on the bed as if it were a rain puddle. The corner store clerk just got finished closing up his shop. He's out there reminiscing on the kid's transition. A toddler who went from toting a stuffed Bonnie doll, purchasing honey buns and sunflower seeds for breakfast, which later got swapped out for alcohol and blunts. There's a little girl who's around 12 years old, dressed in SpongeBob printed pajama pants, slippers, and a bonnet. Her tears are crashing the concrete. She's screaming. That's crazy. People be so quick to pick up a gun. Niggas are scared. They don't even want to fight no more. She doesn't realize that this kind of murder has nothing to do with niggas being scared. It's just that they are not fools. Got tired of bringing scarred knuckles to gun wars. There's someone's grandmother peeking out of window blind, shaking her head in disgust. She's been on this earth in this neighborhood all 70 years of her life. This isn't her first rodeo. Sending prayers to the Lord is the only formula she believes in to stop the chaos in the city. There's a boy pacing back and forth, smoking a Newport down till it burns the filter. He's about 14. He has revenge on his tongue because the kid is someone who he looked up to, who he admired. There's people standing around waving cell phones, recording a murder scene. That kid's body will overflow on the internet before the night is over. His body will pop up on his mother's Facebook, and all of her friends will see it. It will end up on Instagram and Twitter feeds, and people will watch, share, then repeat. The video of that kid's body will end up in homes that will never know the feeling of seeing a live homicide. He was just a kid. Blood marinates his scalp and his bulging eyeballs and cover all of his gold teeth. His jaw is sliced in half from the bullet. His shoes are divorced from his feet from the impact of the bullet. His pale skin is on the concrete, intimate with cigarette butts, Band-Aids, and rat shit because of the bullet. The kid is gone. He's not coming back. His parents will not raise the rest of their kids the same because that's what trauma does. Sucks the energy out of your performance. The children, his friends and loved ones will not be the same. The people who witnessed the murder will not be the same. The kid is gone. A spiritual, emotional, mental, and future financial backbone is gone. Anyone who has proximity to this kid will not be the same. And even if you don't say it aloud, you wonder, will I be next? I was a child when I first realized that nothing or no one lasts forever. People leaving was routine in my neighborhood. I remember walking home from school and seeing the entire inside furnishings and possessions of my friend's family home on their front yard. Landlords kicked them out for unpaid rent. I see parents get handcuffed and escorted to jail in cop cars. Some friends were leaving body bags. Custody battles between two parents on the street always ended up with some kind of physical violence. Heartbreak is why they left. In my neighborhood, leaving was normal, and it was always abrupt. But it was never like the movies. No one wrote any notes and explained to people why they left. It wasn't like the workplace. There was no 2 weeks notice. The adults in my life that held authority positions like teachers and family were gifted at making children believe they knew everything about the world until it was time to discuss departure. No one had the knowledge or the guts to explain why people left or if they'd ever return. Why do so many people get killed in the summertime? I asked my grandmother as a child. She answered me as clear as she could. It was because the summertime heat goes to people's heads, which makes them act out of character, or because the children are in school, so now they have more time to get in trouble, or because people like to show off. She concluded her monologue with, that's just what happens in the summertime. A lot of people die. Summers in Baltimore are an old pair of tennis shoes. My parents walked them, I walked them, and the tennis shoes are currently on the feet of the youth. If you ride through pretty much any neighborhood in East Baltimore, you'll see packs of kids outside cracking open fire hydrants, eating chicken boxes, standing on corners, scraping frozen sugar out of styrofoam cups with spoons, and watching the 12 o'clock boys perform death-threatening stunts up and down the block. The old heads were always out there too, playing spades on fold-up tables, cans of Bud Ice, yelling about who's the greatest NBA Hall of Famer. It was always a party. It's common for parties to get broken up. I mean, was a party really ever that popping if it wasn't on the verge of getting broken up and shut down? Maybe it was because of a fist fight or a neighbor making complaints what prompted the cops to come and close the party down. Whether it was during grade school, high school, as an undergrad, everyone attended a function that was broken up. When a party gets broken up by bullets, it's different. Shots ring off and some people are ducking, running, screaming, or all three. The second the smoke clears, you look around and realize no one was shooting at you or the people you are chilling with. The gun roar was echoing from around the corner. So everyone who has legs run towards the sound of the fire because the gun told us to. The gun is the puppeteer. While running, I'm pretty sure the same thought is on the forefront of everyone's mind. The body will belong to one of us. No matter how fast you run to the scene, the majority of the time, the police will beat you there because there are one too many in our neighborhood and they stay on the prowl. The summer is over and the K through 12 school year starts, and there will be black boys and girls sitting in steaming hot classrooms with no AC, reading from ancient textbooks and on the receiving end of being miseducated. And their creativity, critical, and analytic thinking will be threatened because of the miseducation and of not being represented and the literature being taught. It eventually goes from hot to cold, and soon it's the Christmas season. But the lack of heat causes devastation. Bills go unpaid and families use their ovens to heat up their homes and use candles for light, which end up burning down homes and taking away lives. In these houses, kids eat paint chips and are severely affected by lead paint poisoning. And through it all, we have to walk the streets and keep our head on the swivel because Baltimore police have a long track record of robbing, planting drugs and guns and murdering innocent people. All of this pain comes with my black experience in Baltimore. Toni Morrison has a quote and she says, "History is in percentiles, the thought of great men and the description of errors." And when I heard that, I said, eras of racism constantly change. My ancestors' era was rife with lynchings, cotton, and black human beings being sold for crates of gunpowder and rum. At least that's how it was taught to me. We live in an era now where we can open an app on our phone, read a Bible scripture, swipe to another app and see a video of the white killer cop Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck while he was handcuffed and lying on his stomach for 8 minutes crying for his dead mother until he himself was dead, murdered. In 1901, Theodore Roosevelt wrote to his friend Owen Winston, an American writer and historian, "I entirely agree with you that as a race and in a mass, blacks are altogether inferior to whites. I suppose I should be ashamed to say that I take the Western view of the Indian. I don't go so far as to think that the only good Indians are the dead Indians, but I believe 9 out of every 10 are, and I shouldn't like to inquire too closely into the case of the 10th. The most vicious cowboy has more moral principle than the average Indian." Roosevelt's quote encompasses why the police in Shelby, North Carolina could buy the 21-year-old white supremacist Dylan Roof Burger King because he hadn't eaten in a couple days. This was hours after his arrest for killing 9 black churchgoers. And after, they can label him very quiet and very calm and note that he was not problematic. Dylan Roof was an agent of the state carrying out his ancestors' plans, which is to eliminate black life. In 1751, Benjamin Franklin wrote the essay, Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind and People of Countries, where he stated, "Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies of increasing the lovely white and red?" Franklin made it clear that he did not want black people in this country. But since we were here, how will we preserve and increase the white population? You create laws and policies that discriminate against the descendants of Africa, black people to do so. You use propaganda to instill racist ideas to the masses that will force black people into prison cells and keep white people out. You have racist policies that will ensure inferior opportunities and circumstances so you can blame them and not the system that oppresses them. Then you condition them to believe the up by the bootstraps ideology so they will blame themselves for not having and not being afforded the same opportunities that white people have in this country. I didn't know what systemic oppression was, and the pain that I suffered was a product of my era of racism until I was an adult. I didn't believe that mass incarceration was a real thing, although I knew people, including myself, who were arrested in jail for crimes we didn't commit. It was difficult for me to understand that millions of black people got arrested because of an agenda. I knew that the county and private schools were better than the city schools, but did not know that this was my era of racism. I just always thought that there was something wrong with Black people. The pain that I endure without any truthful context as to why that pain exists is what forms and nourishes racist ideas to exist. Picture this. If I see somebody get shot, then see somebody else get shot, the smart thing for me to do is to get a gun. Now I'm staying dangerous. I'm staying on alert. And say I get arrested with that gun, people from all sides will call me a thug, a no good knucklehead, when in all actuality, I'm trying to protect myself and my grandmother because the dudes across the street got shot. I might go to an HBCU and not know what the acronym stands for because I've never seen anybody go to one before. So an elite Black person might say I'm an idiot, when in all actuality, I haven't been exposed to it or never seen it on television. Or add to the fact that some of our parents didn't even graduate high school. So how could they ever teach us what a HBCU, historically Black college university, is and the importance of it? The stereotypes I face and the things I go through add to the racist ideas that anyone and everyone can consume and produce. Why do they exist? I believe that my Black American experience can detail that. Both white and Black people who have proximity to poor people in communities like mine and what we go through frequently ask questions in regard to understanding racial inequalities in this country that are not a part of their reality. I realized it's not about getting them to understand that it's two different realities, but it's to get them to understand it is indeed a part of their reality, and our two different worlds are merely two sides of the same coin. Baltimore operates the way it does because people made conscious decisions to fund highways for white people in the suburbs instead of jobs and education in the city for Black students. Baltimore operates the way it does because conscious decisions were made to pay out millions of dollars in lawsuits because police can't stop terrorizing the people they are supposed to protect and serve. A conscious decision was made to fund the police department and prisons and not build up undeserved Black communities. There are both white and Black people who support the construction of more prisons, and they champion a strategy to add more police on the streets because there's a fixed image in their minds of poor Black people. They are inherently criminal, and the eradication of crime will protect their lives and valuables in their suburban homes. Studies show that more police and more prisons do not lower the crime rate, but jobs and opportunities do. The decisions that benefit white suburbia are the same decisions that make the lives of Black residents in Baltimore City difficult. These decisions played a part in creating the conditions of my life story that I speak about. I've had several white people tell me that they can count how many times they've seen the police in their neighborhoods, which is a luxury, being that the people in my community see the police 24/7. In white suburbia, their schools and youth programs are funded instead of police. The adults in these suburban communities have the luxury to swoop in and support their kids who misbehave instead of them being punished by the legal system. Their kids' futures are protected rather than encumbered with criminal records, even if they are arrested. Sister Soldier once said, the sincerity of all of the programs and all of the education has to be questioned, indicted, convicted, because the bottom line is that America is not and has never tried to produce African adults who are functional, self-sufficient, who understand their politics, their economics, and their relationship to the world politics and world economics, end quote. For America to give us the freedom to be ourselves and to be unapologetically Black and give us equal opportunity when it comes to education, it will be a threat to white supremacy and what it needs in order to thrive. Traditionally in America, everything from Black human bodies to the things we eat, to what we say, to where we can work, to where our kids can attend schools, to where we can live, has been controlled by the state. Literally, laws have been put in place and are still in place to ensure inferior opportunities for Black people. Since racist laws aren't as cut and dry as they were decades ago, it's still racist people who crave the need to dominate and control who lives in their neighborhoods, and occupies their spaces, and they take it upon themselves to do so. And I'm pretty sure many of you heard about this incident I'm going to explain. On May 25th, 2020, Melody Cooper posted a video on YouTube, which her brother Christian Cooper recorded. Christian asked a woman to put her dog on a leash in an area in Central Park where it's required for dog owners. The white woman, Amy Cooper, who was asked to follow the laws of the park, got violent, pulled out her cell phone and said, "I'm going to tell them that there's an African-American man threatening my life," before calling the police. According to NBC New York, Amy apologized and mentioned, "When I think about the police, I'm such a blessed person," she said. "I've come to realize, especially today, that I think of the police as a protection agency. And unfortunately, this has caused me to realize that there are so many people in this country that don't have that luxury." But I say it's not protection because she's not being harmed. And everybody on the internet was calling this woman Karen, which became this label for problematic white women initiating and pursuing racial and violent behavior in public places towards Black people. And I honestly believe that, we should leave that term Karen on the playground and, call them what they are, white women exercising racist, violent, and deadly behavior. Assigning racist nicknames belittles the damage that they can do. I mean, that's what I believe. Amy explicitly mentioned Christian's race with the intent for the police to come and arrest or murder him. The mentioning of his race automatically makes Amy Cooper an agent of the state, knowing or unknowingly. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say that she knew. These videos, a white woman calling the police, are easy to find on the internet. If you want just any background to this story right here, or, any of the other ones that's out there. Former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, he made the FBI a source of pride for white Americans and a nightmare for Black Americans. In a notation found in a book, I Am Not Your Negro by James Baldwin, indicated a quote by Hoover. And it says, "We all should be concerned with but one goal, the eradication of crime. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is as close to you as your nearest telephone. It seeks to be a protector in all matters within its jurisdiction and belongs to you. Racists being able to utilize their phones to eliminate Black bodies is their most reliable connection to the state and to their white privilege. If white women can't control a situation, traditionally they go to their husbands or some type of male figure in their life to handle, control, or eliminate the situation. If those men are not available to them in their proximity, the state then becomes their men. This is an example of white privilege and white power having the luxury to be able to use the state as a resource to eliminate something that is uncomfortable for them. You want Black children out of your pool. You don't want people barbecuing in a public park. You don't want Black people entering an apartment building in which they live. You call the police. This is the epitome of racism, white privilege, and white supremacy. White people using their phones is a new Jim Crow tactic of intimidation that has to destroy the personal freedom of Black Americans in this country, many times leading to violent deaths. Some people will try and excuse the behavior of Amy Coopers, of the Amy Coopers of the world by saying, but what if she was really scared? And that's why she called the police. And I say people perceptions of them are very real. However, they need to ask themselves, why am I scared and what is my fear based off of? And they got to deal with that. Some months back, I was a part of an online Instagram discussion with some students at the Maryland Institute College of Art in regards to my book, Hummingbirds in the Trenches. And we were discussing, my writing and community work. And one of the students in the comments section said, there are very few people who are actually willing to venture into areas they have been told are unsafe. Fidel expressed for the lives and future boys raised in Baltimore, we as college students in the area are told to fear those same boys. In an essay titled Cinderella Stepsisters, from Toni Morrison, out of her collection, A Source of Self-Regard, she wrote, in your rainbow journey towards the realization of personal goals, don't make choices based only on your security and your safety. Nothing is safe. That is not to say that anything ever was or anything worth achieving ever should be. Things of value seldom are. It is not safe to have a child. It is not safe to challenge the status quo. It is not safe to choose work that has not been done before. or old work in a new way. Don't let your safety diminish the safety of your stepsister, end quote. So therefore, many people, I believe that many people have to ask themselves in these situations, and be honest with themselves. Am I afraid of the unknown? Am I afraid of the unsafe? Or am I afraid of Black people? Whether it's graduate school, giving speeches, or in the literary world, I find myself in spaces with white and Black people who are not aware of my social context or my upbringing. Through my storytelling, people find themselves having a better understanding of poor race relations in this country, how they contribute to the issues of racism and equality in ways that they can help combat these critical matters and become anti-racist. When thinking about how to start a conversation about race, dive into your own story and your life. Be honest about how you have participated in racism. If you've lived in America, you have. There's no way that you haven't, but maybe you don't realize you have. You got to be honest about your ignorance and ask questions and be honest about your experiences. Just how I didn't realize racism was a part of my reality. The people who are furthest away might not see it. My experiences of being Black and from Baltimore have been buried under politics, polls, and mainstream media. And not only have I survived violent murders, police brutality, and poverty, I've been trying to dive deep and examine my experiences, analyze my suffering, and develop liberatory ideas to help me grow and share truth through my poetry, storytelling, and essays, what I hope can be useful to others. In my book, The Antiracist, I explore ways to combat racist ideas through understanding the complexities of various Black experiences. With these thoughts, essays, analysis, what it's like growing up in Baltimore that I know well. My objective is to provide the basis of understanding from which conversations can be held and action can be taken. I chose to combat racism through this lens so that people don't have to face the same roadblocks early on and thus become anti-racist early on. The same way I put my story out is the same way I have to understand someone else's story and unlearn the falsehoods I was conditioned to believe about them. Doing the anti-racist work is acknowledging someone else's story, someone else's pain, and not discounting their journey. However, don't confuse just knowing someone's story and reading about anti-racism work with actually doing the work to become anti-racist. Both need to exist. I have a friend named Anthony Williams whose nickname is Cool Ant on social media. He wanted to a new approach to engage with the community during the coronavirus pandemic after learning that members of the Black community had an increased risk of getting COVID-19 or experiencing severe illnesses from the virus. And he told me, that's a whole different war we should be fighting, and he said that, when he did his research, it showed the life expectancy broken down by the zip code. And of course, majority of the Black neighborhoods had it worse. And, with the help of some other community members, Cool Ant started a run club, where people met up in the summertime every Tuesday, 6 p.m. to run. And, he provided healthy, free foods with the help of motivating people in their own individual lives to continue a healthy lifestyle, something that I and many others was never taught while coming up, and Anthony is the perfect example of one who identifies an issue within a community, come up with quantifiable goals and a strategy to meet those goals and providing a roadmap that leads to helping others live a healthier lifestyle, which is ultimately fighting against structural poverty. You have a woman named Brittany Young, a Black woman from Baltimore who saw issues in the city revolving around dirt bike culture, and she decided to take matters into her own hands to help the situation. As a kid, Brittany was engaged in watching the dirt bike riders do stunts and fix and repair their own bikes. And this is one of the reasons that inspired her to create solutions through B360, which is a STEM education program that hires former street riders to teach engineering design process, mechanics of dirt bikes, low-risk riding techniques, and allowing recreation in safe spaces. Her programming calls out the need to lessen nonviolent crimes, specifically for riding dirt bikes, working to replace jail time and fines with community service, disrupting the school to prison pipeline. She uses her experiences in STEM to create programs geared toward building bridges in communities, advocating for more relevant ways to teach STEM to children who live in low-income areas. She also works with other cities to create diversion programs, advocating for dirt bike spaces, and to cautiously showcase the style of riding that could draw cities and riders earn revenue. Brittany is the first person I come across, saw the potential in dirt bike riders and viewed them as talented natural born mechanical engineers, and helping them develop that talent into STEM careers. And not only will the youth learn skills, but they are skills that can be passed down to others. And I believe that Brittany Young is the perfect example of how you can raise awareness to the importance of relatability and education from a real life situation, and use her platform to help improve social innovation. Both Anthony and Brittany are two definitions of what it looks like, when you do the reading and do the real hands-on work, understanding what privileges they have, identifying issues, and coming up with quantifiable solutions to then fix them issues. And that's a large part of what it means to be anti-racist. Since I'm conscious of what's going on in this country when it comes to race relations, it's my duty to share my experiences. It's my duty to use my language to create spaces for poor people, for people to grow in that anti-racism work. Once you realize that there's something going on and it needs to be fixed, it's up to you to create spaces for people to be vulnerable, to be honest, and to even show ignorance. And from this space, realization and growth can occur. All of these individuals and organizations currently mobilizing throughout the country, Black seeds being planted. Kenny seeds bloom bright enough and stand strong enough to change race relations in the entire country. You have to understand that you do have the power, and that you are a force of change. We are all in positions to harness the energy for positive change and shift it to where it needs to go. Writing and telling my story helped me learn, grow strong in my anti-racism work, something that we all should be doing. And when we're talking about storytelling, shifting the perspective, representation, and how African-American literature and storytelling exists now and how it should exist in the future, it can't be addressed effectively without discussing ownership and truth. Because the lack of truth is what allows racist ideas and falsehoods to be nourished and to exist. Representation is allowing people to have full control of their heartbreak, their joyous moments, their pain, their loneliness. Toni Morrison has a quote in her book, Sula. I know I've been, it's probably like my third, fourth time referencing Toni Morrison, but she's one of my favorite. But in her book, Sula, she says, "Lonely, ain't it? Yes. But my lonely is mine. Now your lonely is somebody else's, made by somebody else and handed to you. Ain't that something? A secondhand lonely?" And the quote is powerful, especially in a world and a country where propaganda and racial conformity controls a large majority of our actions, emotions, and ideas. Allowing people to have control over their own lives and experiences is liberation. People should be able to speak how dangerously, how recklessly. People should be able to speak with as much grit and humor as they please because they own that experience, especially Black people and other marginalized people in this country, because we never had the opportunity historically. Growing up in Baltimore, I dealt with my father sniffing heroin. And, if you're familiar with any of my old work, it's not a surprise that I speak about him, robbing my friends at gunpoint for money. And I speak about my mother's drug addiction and, her stealing clothes and money from me. And I speak about how I've been losing friends and family to gun violence since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? I was 10 years old when I literally watched my 7-year-old little brother die in a house fire. You know what I'm saying? And the lack of truth is why I grew up believing that my mother and father were monsters and bad people because of their drug addiction and their decisions they made, which was credited to their lack of opportunity and access. No one told me about the war on drugs. No one told me about systemic oppression. No one told me about mass incarceration. Therefore, I was being conditioned to hate them and not the racist ideas and policies. And, the long history of oppression in this country that afforded my parents the cruel life that they had to survive in. And note, when I share these stories, I'm not trying to persuade people to like me or for people to have sympathy for me or to get people on board with my mission. This is a part of my healing process. And it's to show people, that look like me and come from similar places like East Baltimore, the importance of harnessing the energy and power that's inside of you. For everyone, you know, that's turned in tonight, your story belongs to you. And I believe that as God's creatures, the only thing that we truly own are our experiences and our stories. All of us, we will one day, you know, we're not going to be here. We are going to die one day. And, you know, no matter how big and heavy your gate and your security system is that's protecting your physical possessions, you know, they can get damaged, they can get stolen. However, stories are forever. You know, you can't rate my story. You can't take it from me. And even on a more personal note, lately I've been thinking about, you know, what has writing done for me. And the years I've spent writing, you know, I realized that it's done many things for me. It has granted me the privilege to interrogate myself in a way that wouldn't have been possible without writing. Writing granted me the opportunity to understand things about myself that I probably would have never found out if it wasn't for it. Writing allowed me to get out here and explore the world, which showed me beautiful and ugly parts of myself that I never knew existed, parts of myself that I never seen. Now, because of that, I can get a clear look at who I am. I can maneuver through the world at a higher frequency because I can identify what and what's not good for me in my journey. I can identify what's good and not good as it involves the relations to the people around me. I'm realizing that this life that I'm living it's not an opportunity to become perfect. From the moment I was conceived, things weren't perfect. Therefore, I have no desire to seek something that has always been non-existent. While on this journey and pursuing my highest passion, I identified the cracks in my life, the imperfections that I speak about, you know, and I fell in love with them because in those cracks is where the light got in. You know, standing in that light is all the people, places, and circumstances that made me who I am today. And when I first fell in love with writing, I said to myself, here's a thing that can answer those questions I whisper to myself at night. A thing that I can become good at. A thing that lends me a voice, a thing that allows me to sing even during my darkest hours, a thing that I can cherish and love. And I'm not here to police or gain authority over Black liberation, but I'm here to make people aware of the injustices that are rarely covered or encountered in depth by the mainstream media, whose spokespeople have little direct knowledge of the real issues, providing only quick statistics and surface analysis, and hardly ever giving platform to people who truly know the issues, from their root causes to workable solutions. It's past time to work together to give insight on how we all can do better. The most important thing that I learned on my journey is that there is nothing wrong with Black people, and there's nothing extraordinary about white people. Black people are not inferior, but their opportunities in this country are. White people are not superior, but their opportunities in this country are. Through my own experiences and research, I came to understanding that growth and becoming anti-racist are not a one-stop shop or a fixed state to be satisfied with, but a lifelong commitment to re-examining the way one thinks and the way one acts. I do believe that we can live in a humane society one day, you know, no matter how crazy the world seems right now. You know, I believe that we can live in a humane society one day. I believe there will come a time when mothers and fathers won't have to bury their kids because they are victims of poverty. I believe we can one day live in a world without police. I believe that one day we can truly live in an anti-racist society. Being on the journey to become anti-racist is a freedom that I never knew existed, a freedom that is available to us all, and a freedom that belongs to us all. And before I get into this poem, I just want to give a little context. I have 7 younger siblings. And, you know, one day I was just thinking, you know, what am I going to tell them and how am I going to tell them if they ask me one day about our mother's drug addiction, you know, something that she's currently still dealing with. And I got a sister who's 5 years old, you know what I'm saying? So I was just thinking about that approach, and, you know, I'm sitting here telling y'all about being honest and about you know, the truth that was denied to me as a kid. So I wrote this poem called "I Will Tell Them," you know, which is a piece that is where I'm honest about my feelings and, you know, situations that I went through with my mother but it also adds some historical context to tell them, you know, how and why these troubled realities exist. Something that I wish somebody would have told me when I was young. So here's the poem I would tell them, and I'm about to drink some of this water real quick because my mouth is kind of dry. I will tell them, since all of our lives are already planned out, there was an expiration date on your sobriety that only God knew, that I wish he could have prepped me for. For too many moons, America has been lying to Black children, so if any of your kids, my younger siblings, ever come to me and ask what was life like growing up, I will tell them the truth. Some days the pendulum will swing in your favor, and on others it will swing in the favor of your opposite. And every time God gives you a gift, even if it's a smile on your worst days, pocket it. Save it, put it in a safe place, deposit it. Make sure you only have access because your happiness should only be handled by you. Don't give your happiness to a soul, because what happens when they touch it, when they drop it or they crush it, they will trade it for likes and cheap retweets. They will drag your happiness through the streets. I promise you they will. I will tell them, at times I used to sit alone and wonder, how does it feel to carry burnt glass tubes stuffed with still war and pills of dope in the same purse where you keep pictures of your children, your boys and girls, in the same company of the boy and girl? I will tell them, in this family, addiction gets handed over like hand-me-down coats, too big, but you wear it on your shoulder blades, burdens, so heavy that you hunch back, so mean that you mug. Biggie, give me the loot before I shoot. Bad boys be the family. I ignored the voices that tried to keep me out of murky waters. The outcome, I got baptized in a Bacardi Beck. I lost eons of races in a rum river. While I was drowning, I grabbed a goose by its neck and annihilated it like I had a kidney made of chromium. Many nights when I couldn't see, I opted to clear my mind, strapped on my goggles and doggy paddle in a black Hennessy. I will tell them, all wounds don't heal with time, and all problems can't be fixed with tequila and lime. I will tell them about the days I used to blast the song Hey Mama by this guy called West. Then after every relapse, all that was left was a Tribe Called Stress. I had a dream I could buy your way to heaven. When I awoke, I spent it on rounds at the club. I bargained my liver in the exchange for the erasure of painful memories. But all it did was maybe bring your name up in bars over toasts and shots with strangers. Always leaving teary-eyed in the morning after. I always feel the strangers when I scrape together bits of pieces of the night before. My Lord, I let my demons gas me up and it left my love tank on E. I will tell them what it feels like to crawl on miles of cut glass just to get to the end of the road with bloody palms and kneecaps. Scars to remind you that you made it. Scars to remind you that you're human. Scars to remind you that you're strong while your favorite victory song plays in your head and you celebrate. Only to find out you went the wrong way. Plot twist. So the question becomes, do you crawl back or stay? Plot twist. You're stuck drowning in quicksand. You close your eyes and allow the sinking to take place. You believe in God, right? So why are you questioning fate? Will you accept his will even if it's a pistol poked in your face? Ask yourself. It's enough people out here sharing hallmark stories, so I gotta keep spitting from the heart, even if the critic gossip and label it dark. I'm not here to discuss happy-go-lucky when the system is trying to fuck me. Why would I concern myself with name brand belts and band-aids when there's a plague in a land that's man-made? I will tell them about every emotion I went through, because what's the point of having feelings if you can't get in them? But I'll be continuing a dangerous cycle if I'm not honest about how I progressed during my process. I would tell them as I became wiser and older, I realized why mommy was rarely sober. See, when mommy was coming up back in the day, Reagan used coke and dope as roadblocks to run her astray. Everybody from the media to friends to family made me believe that mommy was my enemy, a monster. So my entire adolescence was filled with aggression towards her instead of the oppressors. And these poems are just tears I couldn't afford to shed back then. I would tell them the war on drugs was a war on us, and mommy was one of the billions on the receiving end of the trigger, and none of us are exempt from getting flipped with America's rubber grip. I will tell them that the system never has nor will try to produce self-sufficient Black adults in this country. It's designed to keep us in boxes in the forms of caskets, prison cells, and Jordans. And no matter how poor, they make sure we can afford them. I will tell them being Black ain't cheap. It come with a lot of fees written in fine print, and poverty. Drug addiction is a lottery. People with chocolate hue hit a jackpot for pain when they don't even play the numbers. And that's how mommy got scratched off. This world will give you a treasure chest of dreams, but won't give you the key to take the latch off. I will tell them, in life, we all take left turns, and we need help getting on the right track. So be careful of who you turn your back to. The thought of judgment day might seem scary, but your years of sin will not exempt you from kicking back on heaven's resort. I will tell them, Asada Shakur said it best. I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired, seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port. I will tell them. Thank y'all for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kondwani Fidel. Man, it was there's a point in spoken word where you want to say rewind, and then they repeat they do a call and response, and they repeat what they just stated. And I wanted to do that throughout your talk because it was so powerful, man.
Appreciate that, man. It means a lot. Thank you, man.
You. If you didn't feel that, you don't have a pulse. I mean, I'm up here, man. That got my heart going, man. Thank you so much,
man. Thank you.
And I want you to join this panel because we're going to move into the panel discussion portion of the night, and it's going to be great. Okay. As we move into the panel discussion portion of the night, again, thank you, Kondwani. This was a fantastic talk. I'm going to pose questions for the panel, but I want you, the listener, and you out there in virtual land, to submit questions as well, because this night is for you too. I want you to walk away with something. I want you to learn something and take away some pieces that you could use and take to your family and take to your community. So please submit questions to our Facebook page. But let's move on to the panel. In addition to Kondwani Fidel, we have Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes. Deputy Director of Milwaukee County Department of Health and Human Services, David Muhammad.
Good evening. I'm glad to be here, James.
Good evening.
Thank you. Chief Racial Justice Officer and YWCA lead instructor for the coursework called Unlearning Racism, Martha Berry.
Hi, thanks so much for having me tonight, James.
Powerful. And the director of the film Growing Up Milwaukee, which first screened at the American Black Film Festival and also appeared here at the Milwaukee Film Festival in October and is currently streaming on HBO Max, Tyshawn Wardlaw. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me as well.
It's so much that we could go into, but I'm going to keep it on Kondwani real quick. Kondwani, first question for you, and anybody feel free to jump in, and then we're going to take questions from the virtual audience as well. Kondwani, when we have conversations on racism, it's often predicated on white people feeling comfortable. How can you have real conversations on race when you have to spend time to make sure that the person that you're having these conversations with are comfortable at first?
So I feel like, it kind of goes back to that Toni Morrison quote that I mentioned in my speech, where she says, don't make choices based only on your security and your safety. Nothing is safe. That is not to say that anything ever was or anything worth achieving ever should be. The things of value seldom are. It is not safe to have a child. It is not safe to challenge the status quo. It is not safe to choose work that has not been done before or work in a new way. And I feel like that speaks volume, you know what I'm saying? Because literally every day we go out here and practically did everything that our parents told us not to do, things that'll get us killed, you know what I'm saying? And we have no fear. We have no fear of being uncomfortable when we getting on a roller coaster, when we getting on the Batman and Six Flags that break down every year. You know what I'm saying? We're not uncomfortable when we do that. We're not uncomfortable when we go on vacation and stick our hand in the mouths of alligators and put it on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in here parent told that don't get in the car with strangers. And what do we do today? We pay people to come to our private homes to pick us up and take us to other sacred places. We literally do everything our parents told us not to do. So people have to ask themselves that question. It's the work for them to do. Why are you scared of Black people? Because you're not scared of the unsafety. You're not scared of the unknown. You're not scared of being uncomfortable. Come on. So you gotta unlearn that. You know what I'm saying? And people like myself and people like you and the other people out here who are, trying to teach people to grow strong in that anti-racism work, we can help them do the work. We can give them the information, but it's not really our work to do, even though we find ourselves doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's not our work to do.
Right. Next question for County Exec David Crowley. You call racism a public health crisis. And first of all, I want to know what a lot of people are still confused on. What do you mean by that? And if racism is something that's impacting the health of people of color, what's the cure or the vaccine, if you will?
Whoa, very loaded question. And when you think about racism being a public health crisis, and you look at right here in our own community, we have seen that we have been leading in many of the wrong lists throughout this country. This is one of the most segregated places in the country. We lead in Black male incarceration. We lead in Black-white income gap. And when you think about it, even our life expectancy, white people are living 14 years longer than Black people right here in Milwaukee County. And so it is an issue, because as long as we're not investing in the most vulnerable communities, especially those who have been marginalized historically, we're not making sure that we lift all the boats up when the tide rises. So it's absolutely a public health crisis. And we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to really tackle this issue. It takes all of us. I'm glad that we're leading as a county, but it's going to take all of us coming to the table and making sure that we eliminate this as an issue.
I'm going to pose this question for David Muhammad. I know you do a lot of work with young people in this city. You work with young people through the Office of Violence Prevention. What are they telling you about how racism impacts their lives today?
Well, so let me be clear. I mean, I'm in my former role, I did a lot with OVP. Currently at Milwaukee County, at DHHS, we run the Division of Youth and Family Services, as well as our Children's Disability Services. What we see are a lot of young people who are involved in the system. And it can come from a number of reasons. We know that trauma in the community is significant. We see that with homelessness. We see that with disinvestment in neighborhoods. And we see it with young people doing just as Kondwani talked about when he talked about we did everything our parents told us not to do. So you see a lot of young people involved in high risk activity. And when you have neighborhoods where there's low recreation opportunity, where there's not a lot of economic opportunity for youth, we'll make it. We'll make economic opportunity. We'll make high risk activity that provides the thrill seeking, because of how our brains have been wired because of the neglect that has taken place. And so we see a lot of young people who are falling through the cracks, and they end up with justice involvement. And our goal really at Milwaukee County has been to reduce the number of youth in the carceral settings. We've done that with bringing youth home from Lincoln Hills. We're doing that now with innovative youth diversions, and we intend to continue to do that. But it really is going to take a systemic effort. And just to dovetail off the question that was asked earlier, it is a one-way conversation, and it does involve a lot of privilege for white people to talk about racism and choose to lean into the discomfort. That reality of discomfort is something that Black and brown people live with every day in Milwaukee County, and that's something that we are working to address from with our own system.
Thank you. Martha Berry, I took a class with Martha Berry called Unlearning Racism at the Y. And it was one, through the Milwaukee Promise series, I found that was the local piece of work that it was working here that I want to see expanded. Martha, you teach people, a majority of them white, on how to unlearn racism, so to speak. Explain to people what that looks like and feels like, and do you feel if it's really truly working?
Thanks, James. So it's a program that gives people an opportunity to build knowledge on knowledge. And so a lot of what Kondwani shared with us is the lived experiences of many of us are so different. So coming into a course like this requires that white people and folks of color that join us to really step out of your comfort zone, to be willing to learn about all the lies that you've been taught, the misinformation, to help people to understand that the systems that are built were built largely by and for white people to keep us segregated, separated in all kinds of ways that have not been useful to building a world where we can be together. So it's a class that breaks down the information, shares a lot of good information, gives people an opportunity to be in breakout rooms, watch video clips, journal, learn in lots of different ways and styles, and hopefully get a sense. It's a co-facilitated, so it's not just me. I have been leading the last couple of years with other Black women. And so there's an opportunity to hear experiences from more than one perspective. But as you said, James, it takes a lot of undoing. And are we being successful? I'd like to believe we're getting those conversations going. We're getting people to believe they can listen with their heart and their mind and their spirit and move out of comfort zones and try things differently and engage with other groups of people in the community, get behind leaders of color, vendors of color, be willing to spend money in communities of color, really invest in our community broadly so that we can make some changes that need to happen. So do I have measurements that would say we've made a difference? We're working on a study right now with Ubuntu, and we'll have more data soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Tashawn, your film, Growing Up Milwaukee, you spend a lot of time talking with young people. What did you learn about race relations through their eyes? And did you walk away after the film feeling more or less optimistic on race relations in this city?
Well, unfortunately, with following the 3 featured youth that I actually documented in the film, and also being exposed to a few other youth that we actually filmed with, I found out that segregation is still happening with the youth, and it's happening unknowingly because I feel that they are actually dealing with some of the residue, even from redlining. And what I mean by that is actually where you're known to stay in your area. You don't travel outside of like the 5 to 10 mile radius. So to even be able to venture off and see like some of the wonderful gems that, Milwaukee County has to offer, you just stay in your area. You don't move into other areas. You don't explore. And then also some of the youth don't feel comfortable going in those other areas because they don't know how they will be perceived, if they will be perceived, by police in a certain way, and or some of the residents, or if just something bad will happen in kind of uncharted territory. So that was one thing that I walked away with, that unfortunately, even for the youth, internally in their mind, like it's segregated, where you stay in your isolated area. And then even after filming, I do know, just as everyone has stated, that we have work to do as far as race relations is concerned in Milwaukee. However, I do believe that, if we keep moving forward and coming up with solutions to the problems, that, all hope isn't lost. But it was definitely shocking to see that it's seriously still segregated, unfortunately.
Now, Tashawn, staying on you, you grew up in Milwaukee. What was your experience like growing up here? Just to hear from you growing up as a Black woman in this city, what did you experience that the people that you focused on in the documentary did or did not experience?
One thing is the staggering statistics, unfortunately, just as so many of the panelists has stated tonight, that we have staggering statistics. And I grew up actually on the north side of Milwaukee in the Lincoln Creek area, where when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, that area was still actually predominantly white. So I actually had to go find other Black kids to play with when we were growing up, or that might be 3 or 4 blocks down where we're like, oh, wow, there's another Black family that moved on the block. Like, let's try to sneak over there and, say that we're on this street and we can all play together. So that was my experience kind of growing up as it deals with race. However, even over the years when I started to attend middle school and high school, the area that I was basically born and raised in started to change, and it started to shift. And even as David Muhammad had mentioned, that unfortunately, high risk activity comes when, you need to get money, and you're going to make money, and you're going to find ways to do things. So even in my own area, it shifted and started to become a high crime area, in a high risk area, or even with reckless driving and just different behaviors that unfortunately I didn't see in that same neighborhood that I lived like the majority of my life before leaving to go to school for Santa Clara University for college. So I say that to say that that was something that also motivated me to actually want to be able to tell the stories of the youth, because I noticed that dynamics had shifted across the board. It didn't matter exactly what pocket of the city that you were in. Collectively, a lot of the youth were dealing with so many traumatic things that I didn't have to deal with as a child in the 90s.
Great. We're going to take a question from one of our readers. Can you read that question? Just post it. Hang on. It's a little small type. Post it up on the screen. Let me see if I could blow it up a little bit. There we go. This is from Olivia Dobbs. In the Antiracist, you discussed defunding police departments and channeling some of the money into HBCUs. Could you talk about where this idea came from and what it might look like in implementing in Milwaukee? I think that question is for Kondwani.
So how I came up with the idea originally was, this was a few months ago. I mean, for the people who are, in the Twitter world and that, know what's going on in a day-to-day. I kept saying this term, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. And I'm like, what does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? And it was just hard for me I'm like, y'all just want to take money away from the police. Like, for what? Like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? So not people saying a term, and maybe they did have some quantifiable goals on how to reach that. You know what I'm saying? But I just wasn't seeing them. So I'm like, okay, if we do defund the police, who's going to step in? Like, how can we use this opportunity to teach people skills? How can we use this opportunity to give to pay people opposed to just washing away this one job? So I said, hey, okay, we take the money away from say we take the money away from the Baltimore City Police Department. You know what I'm saying? It's single officers who have like $600,000 in lawsuits because they just be beating up people all the time and beating up old ladies. And I'm pretty sure y'all heard about the gun trace task force in Baltimore City. Like, all this is public record. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, and they spend millions of dollars in overtime that majority of it they're stealing. So I'm like, okay, they got all of this excess money, all this extra money they could be using, for something else. So I say, hey, you take the money from the police department and you find the nearest HBCUs. I'm not sure if there's any HBCUs in Milwaukee, but let's just use Baltimore for example, right? So we got Morgan State University, which is a HBCU. We got Cotton State University, which is a HBCU. So you take that money, right? You find some way to get it to these HBCUs, right? So when you defund the police and you have less of them on the street, so now you're paying somebody to teach classes on how to mediate certain situations that might go on in the streets, or people who can, learn skills on how to deal with people who have mental health problems. Because somebody having a mental health problem, a police officer shouldn't be pulling up at the function with a gun ready to shoot because somebody didn't get their mask today. You know what I'm saying? And these police officers are untrained. Some of them be scared. A lot of them be racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many things, that come into play when you call them. So I'm just thinking like, okay, you have this money that you take from them. You can use it to teach. You can use it as a way to teach people in the community these skills. They can teach it at an HBCU. So it's kind of like all of this money is just, being involved in these skills is being like shared. And again, this is just an early idea. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So it's just so you know, there's been some thought about doing some of what you said here, but not with HBCUs. There's been some thought of defunding police or some talk about that. Defund police and have some of that money filtered into some of the community organizations that work and do the work on the ground level, grassroots level, that reach people before they get to the critical stage where police officers have to be called in. So I think that's what the question is getting at. We have another question from a listener. This question, and I'll just read it. What are your thoughts on the notion of racial equity? What does racial equity mean to you, and what does it look like? I'll pose that question at the county executive. What is your thought on the notion of racial equity?
I mean, racial equity is this place where it is okay to be Black, it's okay to be who you are, it's okay to be Latinx, it's okay to be who you are and be free. And I think that when we think about racial equity, particularly here in Milwaukee County, and quite frankly across this country, you know, being Black isn't necessarily been safe for all of us. And so when we think about racial equity, you know, it's about making sure that when we walk down the street, when we're hopping on the bus, that we can be free, that we have the same access to a quality education, to a good paying job that may not be located within my city, so I can go to the suburbs and get on a county bus and go there without being judged. Or racial equity, giving me the opportunity to live in affordable housing in suburban communities so I can actually live closer to where I work at. And so when we think about racial equity, is really talking about the fact that the work that we're currently doing isn't just about solving our current problems, it's solving the problems that have been generated from generations of thinking from this country, of the policies and practices that have been on the books. So racial equity is making sure that everybody, no matter what they look like, no matter zip code they come from, they can live and be free in this country.
Absolutely.
Martha Berry, same question to you. What does racial equity look like in the realm of unlearning racism?
So I want to appreciate County Executive Crawley for what he shared, because I think there's a way that we forget about access and opportunities. You know, as a white woman, I can walk in spaces and not be judged in the same way that my Black friend or my Indigenous friend can walk and be judged as a criminal or some other way. So I think in terms of fair access, fair opportunities. And so what it requires is for us as white people to realize how much we've been given by way of advantage just by the skin color that we walk in the world in. And the systems were designed to give us those advantages. And we have to understand that to undo racism means we have to understand the systems that are often invisible to us. And if we can't see them, we're not going to know that we have to dismantle them. And that's going to require us to listen to Black and brown people who know what those systems have done to them, and believe people when they tell us what they've experienced, and be humbled by that experience, and then work together. I mean, there's a way in which we have to keep showing up, but our contributions often have to be changing what that looks like, because we've been taught as white people that we're the smartest people in the room, we know the answers, and instead of being able to be present with each other, we miss each other, and the world is not going to change until we can find one another.
I have another question from the virtual world. In your opinion, what are the first steps schools should take to address racial inequities? It seems like schools are often left out of this conversation, but it's a real, very real question. And I think if we want to address this and tackle this, we need to tackle this in schools. David Muhammad, what do you think about that?
I think number one, we have to adjust the curriculum and make sure that it doesn't center whiteness in the education system. We really need to teach young people the knowledge of themselves. We have to absolutely make sure that we're addressing for the world that they're going to go into and prepare them to be independent and do what they need to do for their own success in their communities. But they need to be equitably resourced to accomplish that. And so when we see disinvestment in our community, we know that the schools have been some of the first sectors hit by that. And so there has to be a significant advocacy effort for that. I would say also, because this is Milwaukee and we have the choice system here. Whatever problems exist in a public school will eventually take over the charter school. And so we have to make sure that we're supporting public education to help that lift.
Tashawn, what grade level should that start at?
I think that should start even at the primary level. Because once again, with filming with teenagers in the high school that I actually went into, which was my high school that I graduated from, actually you could see that, you know, it's not as diverse as they need to. And also with the curriculum, they don't get that information. And once again, I stated about redlining. I don't even think that some of the youth even know what redlining means or when it happened or when it started or when it stopped. So just kind of giving them the basic foundation of, you know, the past, the present, and the future in their learning and their curriculum.
David Crowley, going back to you again, since you're the politician on this call, what happens next? What do you want to see happen, or what needs to happen within the next year or 2 years to change the trajectory of what's taking place in Milwaukee County on race relations and racism that exists?
I would say that the biggest barrier that is facing Milwaukee County, but I would say many local communities in general, is the resources that they have access to. I mean, right now we have a plan to really focus on both health and racial equity, yet we are not getting the resources that we need at the state, and we have very limited tools in place to tackle these issues. And so we need to be figuring out, how do we, across all different types of sectors, whether we're talking about the private sector, the philanthropists, everybody, to figure out how we get all of our resources to the table and make the proper investments in those who most need it.
Again, I just want to say this is Listen MKE Live, a community listening project of the Journal Sentinel Ideas Lab, WUWM 89.7, Milwaukee's NPR, Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee's PBS. Thanks for answering that. Let's take this into another direction. When we talk about having conversations about race, how does that conversation start? And I guess I'll start that out with Martha Berry, since you deal with that directly with Unlearning Racism. You often hear people saying, well, we need to have this conversation about race, but no one seems to know how to start that conversation. How does that conversation start?
Well, I think, you know, doing the work that I've done for the last number of years, in thinking about Milwaukee, we were confronted with, there's so many disparities. We're on these lists, you know, the inequities are huge. And what we realized is that there's such denial on the part of white people that racism is what it is, namely, is as bad as it is. And if it's going to change, it's because we have to understand it. If we're going to understand it, it means we have to be willing to be in spaces where we can learn how to talk about race. And knowing too many white families don't talk about race, don't read books that are written by Black and brown authors, don't have toys that are representational, don't show movies. You know, there's so much work we have to do. So getting people in spaces where we create a brave space for them to make mistakes, but to learn from those mistakes, to understand the words that you're using are hurtful. There's a way to invite people into those conversations that are not about beating people over the head. And we have to, you know, I always say to white people, we are the ones that have to take on the racist uncle and aunt and relative that we're just hoping somebody else will take on, and not give up on each other, because, you know, it's finding our way through it with each other. So there's a lot more I could say, but I'm back on David Mohammed. We got to decenter whiteness in order to get through this.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Here's another question. What are some of the ongoing programs to level resources across all Milwaukee communities? Are there any? If not, why not? Who could tackle that question?
I'd like to speak to that if possible. You know, for the Department of Health and Human Services, definitely under the leadership of the county executive. When we talk about racial equity, that also means addressing structural racism. So where our programs and services are offered, where our facilities are located, how we're supportive of our staff, how we recruit and retain top talent, how we build pipelines for folks to work in the human services sector. I mean, just recognizing Milwaukee, we lost the automotive industry and the beer industry to the poverty industry. And so much of the systemic lift to address racial equity is going to have to be done by folks working within the system. So there's a lot happening with the county. Please check what we're doing now.
Anyone else? I'm going to take one more question from the audience, and then I'm going to give people a wrap up. This question from Patricia. How do you begin to tackle the issue of racism when among white people it's downplayed and or there are a mindset that it doesn't exist? Again, I will pose that question to Sean. How would you do that?
Well, first and foremost, from a storyteller perspective, just being able to get out there that it does exist outside of the narrative that we normally see it painted as, that, once again, I'm not a racist or, anything like that you normally hear from people, but you don't actually see some of it being played out in things outside of your normal structure. So I think even being able to allow the power of storytelling and media to be able to get a different narrative out there, to say, yes, it does exist. Yes, it is something that is still alive and well and flourishing throughout the United States, not just only in Milwaukee. And I think that we can use actually the power of media and storytelling to be able to change that narrative, as well as be able to expose some of the things that are unfortunately still staggering communities across the U.S.
Agreed. The questions are really starting to come in now. I want to take one more. This one is from my wife, actually, Demia Causey. She said there's a school of thought that white people need and should have their own individual groups to discuss racism amongst one another without the fear of saying something wrong. In a Black setting, is this helpful? Or does it create more division? Martha Berry.
Thanks, Dami, for asking the question. So I think there's ways that we as white people have to build our muscle with each other. We've got to build capacity, like each other, want to hang together, know that when we stumble, make a mistake, we can turn to each other. We have to stop leaning on folks of color to be able to provide the answers. So I get the question of, does it create more division? I think there's work that needs to be done in separate groups so that we can come back together and be even stronger. Now, there's places where I think folks of color rightfully worry that white people are going to go off the chain and turn into, white nationalists and go so far to the extreme. But I think there's a way that if we're trying to tackle racism, white people do need a space where they can work on that together, find ways to build our muscle, change our mindsets, think about things differently, and support one another. Because our hearts are broken about what racism has done in this country, and we need to get together and find other ways. So I think it can look like it would be divisive, but to me, it's a place to build capacity and then come back together and still follow the lead of Black, Indigenous, and people of color who know what needs to happen, and we get behind to support.
I want to go around the room and give everyone a last thought before we go to the book giveaway. And I want to start with Kondwani on the issue of race and race relations in this community in the United States.
So, a question that I always get asked is, how do I help? Or people say things like, I don't know how to help. And I remember I was giving a speech at American University in DC like 2 years ago. And this guy came up to me, young white dude, and was just saying like how he didn't know how to help. And it was so difficult for him to help. And, I kind of just broke it down to him the best way that I knew how at the time, just saying like, yo, anything else in life, you figure it out. Like you figured out a way to get an American University. Like that's a hard task. It's not easy. You know what I'm saying? And helping people isn't hard. You know what I'm saying? If somebody needs some shoes, find a way to get them some shoes. If somebody needs a shirt, find a way to get them some shirt. And, even if you look at any movement. You look at Martin Luther King's movement. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was the face. He was the main orator. But look at all those people who was behind the scenes, the people who was making the flyers, the people who was carpooling, the people who was getting the message out. They ain't had no internet. You know what I'm saying? But somehow, some way, he got 250,000 people to come at the same place at the same time on the same day. You know what I'm saying? So find out what you're good at. It could be something as small as building resumes. You know what I'm saying? Find something you're good at. Find what your privilege is, and you know, come up with quantifiable goals in order to fix the issue that you identify, and use your privilege to help people, you know, who aren't afforded the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? For that skill. You know, it's the oldest saying, you know, teach a man how to fish, you know what I'm saying? Hey, eat a lifetime. And that's how I look at this anti-racism work.
Fantastic. County Supervisor.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, James, and thank you, Kondwani, and love Baltimore. My man Mayor Brian Scott is out there. Hope he's doing well out there. But honestly, this is work that's not for the faint-hearted. It's going to really take all of us to really step up and really tackle racism head on to make sure we can eliminate this for our children. I mean, we have to really recognize that this is a pandemic that has been with us for over 400 years. And everything that we have been through have been exacerbated by the other pandemic with this coronavirus, because we've seen how it exacerbated everything. And so let's make sure that we're coming to the table doing what we need to do. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Let's make sure that we're bringing more people to the table to really build the momentum and the change that I think is near and dear to all of us in the near future.
I want to say thank you, County Exec, and keep the pressure on and keep talking about it, because that's one way that we could address it if you keep bringing it up. And I love how you keep doing that. David Muhammad.
So I just wanted to say something I think is real pertinent. We discuss racism in Milwaukee from a very strict black-white paradigm, and it's almost like the city has this guilty conscience trying to exercise, and there's real harm being done in the present time. So while we look back at Father Grappi, while we talk about the commandos and we talk about the 16th Street viaduct and whatnot, we should know that this city has changed significantly demographically. There's a lot of inequity here, and that there's a lot of work to be done. But I will say that Milwaukee has some of the strongest people who, and I won't use the word resilient, but who are really making progress. And we have leadership now that understands, and we should continue to push, support, and advocate harder for this city more now than ever.
I agree with you 100%. I just think, where my frustration lies is that we often have the same people having a conversation, but we got to get more people involved in that conversation. To Sean.
So just to kind of echo what you just said, getting more people involved by storytelling, using the power of being able to use outlets of film or either other social media platforms where we can actually have those discussions, even when they're very uncomfortable. So once again, just getting the word out there and having conversations be started through storytelling. So I think that's the most powerful way to do it now, because we have so many different forms and access to reach multiple people that we probably didn't even in the past.
Great. Lastly, Martha Berry.
I feel like there's a way that we can build solidarity in this community, because there are more people that care. And how do we listen to the voiceless? How do we find those folks that are struggling in our community and listen to what their needs are, and then figure out ways, like County Exec Crowley was saying, we need to find funds. We need to get the money into the community and not just be sort of the breadbasket of the southeastern part of the state, but be known as the part of the country that figured out some things, got people together and tried to change outcomes for all people, because equity is about everyone having access. We've got to do this together.
Fantastic. I think what we saw at the Capitol earlier this year really shows us that there's still a lot of people who are hurt, and there's a lot of pain that exists out there, and there's a lot of confusion when it comes to race and race relations, and we have to continue these conversations. I want to thank the panel for participating in tonight's event, and this is something that we will continue. to have conversations on. And like I said, I will keep the heat on the powers that be in our community to really push the envelope to try to change the trajectory of how the things have been going in this community that I love and a community that I know you love. So that's why I wanted you to be a part of this event tonight. Kondwani has graciously signed or autographed his book, The Antiracist, and I want to give out copies of his autographed book, which is fantastic, to a few people tonight, and we will contact the rest of you later on. But tonight, I want to give a copy, if that's okay with you, Kondwani, to Ann Landry. You can email me at jcausey@jrn.com. That's jcausey@jrn.com. Also, Olivia Dobbs, Dobbs. Please email me and we will mail you the book. And Lynn, last name Dahl, Dahl. You three will receive a copy of The Antiracist, autographed by the author tonight, Kondwani Fidel. We will go through the list and contact some of the other people who signed up through our Facebook page and send books out to you as well. I just want to, again, thank everyone for participating tonight in this very open and honest conversation. Muhib Dyer, great speech, great spoken word talk. I want to thank again the Greater Milwaukee Foundation for their support in making this become a reality. The O'Brien Fellowship that I was a part of, working on this project for a year, and David Amho. And I want to thank my editors and colleagues that I work with as well, who we all, everything that everybody does makes this type of work possible and to give back to the community. And with that, I just want to say good night, and let's keep having those really tough conversations because they matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.